What's going on, everybody? Doc from Average Gamer Guys back yet again. A little bit more Halo Wars 2 action, this time bringing you Mission 5, the Cartographer, on our Legendary Walkthrough series. We're going to jump right into this one, and immediately once we get set here, I'm just going to fast forward through our base build. Again, pretty standard base build. My biggest thing here is you're going to see as we kind of slow back down to regular time is get your turrets up immediately as fast as you can. The reason I want to say this is because, as you can see here, you're only given one Wolverine to start. You got some Marines and your Spartan, but this group of Banshees right here pretty much decimates just about everybody from the beginning. So having a turret up, getting that turret onto anti-air, which is what I do right here, is absolutely important because these guys are going to do quite a bit of damage. Now your group, the forces you have, they will be able to take them out, but it is just important to note that you'll kind of get harassed with one or two waves of Banshees right at the beginning. The rest of this, again, I'm just going to fast forward through here in a second, just building up the base, and the whole point of this for me was to get everything set. Supplies are more important than energy, especially because you have the energy node right there that you can take right away. I do build the armory straight up, and I'm just going to wait for 500 energy, essentially to be able to get the increase in logistics so that the enemy, our guys can spawn a little bit faster. Again, we're just cranking through. All we're doing, again, just getting the army set up, going to full 100%, getting an 80 population cap, kind of working supplies, and just kind of generally upgrading ourselves so we're ready to go. So what I'm going to do eventually here, I'll show you. I end up building a few things. Build Wolverines right off the bat so they can start to gain a little bit of veteran level, taking out the Banshees that do fly in. I build Wolverines, Cyclops, and a few Marines. I think I end up with 7 Wolverines, 6 or 7 Cyclops, your Spartan, and the rest end up being Marines, which is about, I think it's about 8 or 9 groups. And the reason that worked nice for me is because you face a little bit of everything. You need the anti-air capability, but you also need the Marines and the Cyclops to be able to help you with the infantry that you're going to face. You face a good mix of armor through this mission. This mission overall, I would say, is probably kind of the mid-tier as far as what I've played on Legendary difficulty, because taking these points, you can kind of pretty nicely progress through this mission and just kind of knock out the objectives one at a time and just take care of things. And as long as you're managing your army, you're going to be okay. But I definitely recommend a large group army like I have here. So I have 9 groups of Marines, 6 Cyclops, and 7 Wolverines. So a good mix, able to take down, and if you kind of just move slowly forward, inch forward, they really won't give you too many units for the most part that you need to deal with. And then this setup ends up being pretty strong at taking down these Forerunner conduits, which is pretty nice. But again, the first few minutes of this, and I know I fast forwarded through it, just get your base built up, get everything upgraded. Make sure you're pumping out units and just kind of doing that, because you will see as we move through this, you're going to lose a lot of units. The toughest portion for this mission ends up being the banished base that we'll face here in just a little bit. The rest of it, again, I didn't really think was too bad, and you'll definitely get plenty of supplies, plenty of energy, and your base will generally be okay up until right near the end. As long as you're just upgrading, getting all 4 of your turrets up, and then putting them all on anti-air. 100% anti-air, you don't need anything else. And that's really going to be the setup. And we'll kind of just continue to talk through this. Again, you can be pretty quick with these EMP Mac blasts. As soon as they call it in, you can set it up. And you'll see here, as long as you're micromanaging a little bit, and you're paying attention to what you have out of your army and what you've lost, which typically seems to be Wolverines for the most part. It seems like the enemy AI does a decent job of taking out your anti-air capability. As long as you're smart with managing your army, you should be okay, especially once you take down that first conduit. You're going to see I did a little fast forward through the mid cutscene. You're just going to see that these next 2 that you take, again, you're going to kind of face a similar fight as you did, but this is where we really start to see the toughest part, in my opinion, for any mission on Legendary, is the enemy leader powers. That was an absolute brutal glassing beam. He's going to target again here, and it's a little frustrating because you don't know which one's the glassing beam and which one is this kind of stun effect, which also decreases your health, not health, shields. So it's kind of a tough fight. I definitely lost some units there. They do put pretty good defense, and again, I recommend the mix that I had as far as units. Again, just make sure you're upgrading your units when you can. Use your energy as well as you can. Make sure you get the Marines to have the grenade ability, because then you can kind of spam that either towards the Wraith tanks, the other infantry, or these cores to help you knock them out a little faster. The nice thing is you'll see right there up in the top right hand portion of the screen, it does give you about 10 seconds before the swarm comes in to get your units out. You get plenty of audio cues for when that's happening, but as you can see right here, as soon as I see that coming in, I pull those guys out. You can use the Mac EMP blast and then get right back into it. The swarm will still technically be there, but as long as the shield is down, they won't hurt you. Having Wolverines is especially helpful in those instances right there, because you'll see kind of near the end, they'll actually be able to take out those spirits that are dropping troops in before they can even drop the troops. You'll probably see success with that about 50% of the time, especially if you have a full force of them. And so again, just continue to monitor your troops. I end up doing probably a little bit of a mistake here, but I don't end up calling everything else forward, which is okay, because your units aren't too spread at this point. As long as you're kind of merging the two groups together, you should be all set. And again, your base is totally fine during this portion and throughout the majority of this mission, especially if you have 4 turrets upgraded and sitting at anti-air with your base. Again, I'm trying to be smart about this, trying to make sure I can get all of the upgrades. You can only do the vehicle and infantry upgrades once, which is a little bit of frustration for me there. I would like to see them again give you capability, especially on these higher difficulties, power your units up just a little bit more. I definitely recommend hitting this, these 2 close left and right ones as far as the conduits first, because as soon as you knock this one out, you're going to face, in my opinion, again, probably the toughest portion of this fight. And again, just doing a lot of hopping back and forth, trying to keep, again, a good balance here with all of your different units, making sure you still got Marines, making sure you still got Cyclops, making sure you still got plenty of Wolverines, because again, the mix here, the diversity of units is going to end up helping you. I misspoke a little bit, I guess. You can upgrade your infantry units twice. I don't know why I didn't do it right there, but make sure you're doing that. And honestly, you could take a little bit more setup time at the beginning for this mission to do some of those upgrades up front, because again, they won't harass you that much. They won't send too much at you as long as you pump out a couple Wolverines in conjunction with your turrets. You'll be absolutely fine from a base defense standpoint. And again, on these higher difficulties, it is hard to do the bonus and optional objectives. I don't end up going over the optional objective to end up grabbing the 2 little side mini bases here, because honestly, it's not worth it, and you pump more energy and units into taking them than you actually get out of defending them. And here we go. This again, the toughest portion for me right here. They're going to have a ton of units. They're going to have a good diversity of units. You see a bunch of jump pack brutes kind of distract me right here. And then look at this. They're just spamming everything. They got plenty of infantry. They got hunters. They're going to have some Wraith tanks beyond that. Archer missiles is a great use power for that one time right there. And again, at this point, I'm sitting at like barely half of my army is left at this point from the initial push, and I honestly have a really tough time taking this down. You can't drop Lotus Mines within that circle. I think it's too close to the base, which is also frustrating. I want to hit some of this stuff as soon as it comes out. They've got turrets on the side. They've got a shield generator on the side. It's just a tough fight, and then he's going to again spam in leader powers here, which I tried to combat with restoration drones. Doesn't seem to work too exceptionally well. And again, I probably do a bad job here of trying to focus too much on this fight where I should have just been sending units and having them come in. Now, one thing that could help you would be to take, and I don't do this, so again, learn from my mistakes throughout all of this, but take and move your global waypoint at least closer to this, maybe at the base of that little incline that's behind where these units are running up, or maybe in the center circle through this, because then at least your units will be closer, and some of them will probably just naturally gravitate to coming up to help with this fight instead of having to spam grab units and have them move up. But again, you're just going to be doing a lot of unit builds. The nice thing here is if you do have it set up and you got the 3 supply pads that I have and the 2 generators, you shouldn't have any problem at this point taking down or continuing to keep up with the supplies for what you're building. Nice thing is Marine, Cyclops, and Wolverines are all quite cheap, so that sets up okay. And again, it's just this is just tough. This base has a ton of health. The turrets, I probably could have moved these guys a little bit to the back to deal some of the damage. And sadly, again, your Wolverines aren't super great at dealing with a lot of the units that come out. So that's why you do have to have a good mix. Honestly, right there, it's tough to say what else I would do differently. If I could make air units, I absolutely would, but I can't, sadly. So you just kind of continue to pound at it, and eventually you will take it down. And once you do, again, taking out these conduits is really not too difficult. The Banshees are extremely susceptible to all of your Wolverines and anti-air, and again, it is nice having some of those Marines in there because they are pretty good against them as well. And again, I do make the mistake. Make sure you are upgrading your infantry units. Those upgrades are important as I kind of roll through this and just continue again. Set up for this, get a full army back, get everybody gathered up and to that location. The upgrades are nice because they're giving you units can take more damage, they're dealing more damage. So generally they're overall good upgrades. I think the first one is either 10 or 15%, and I think they jump up by 10% from each iteration. Let your leader powers heal up. You'll be able to use probably a decent use of the archer missiles when you get moving forward with this final conduit. And so yeah, that's kind of what we're just setting up for. And again, you're not going to get too much harassment once you take the base out. That's really a lot of the unit production that they're bringing in, and then honestly, minus some of the spirits and some of the defenses that they have set up that you'll see here in a second, not much is coming else at you. Besides once the Sentinels spawn in, which is kind of the next big, honestly, enemy push that you'll end up seeing. So we got everything. We got the whole army keyed up. Again, we're sitting at 7 Cyclops, 7 Wolverines, 8 Marines at this point, which gives you the perfect 80 plus our Spartan. So again, as long as you're close to some kind of mix like that, they're going to do a great job using leader powers. I do like grabbing this Wraith right here because that's a good portion of what ends up coming out. Not sure if these mines end up being helpful, but you might as well use them. Why the heck not? And then just start moving everybody close. Wolverines become especially important for this conduit because they will kind of spam those engineers in, which really lengthens this one more so than it needs to be. Because again, with this army setup, you can take these down in about 2 or 3 hits, or 2 or 3 encounters, if you will, before you get the little sentinel swarms to come in. And as you're seeing, as soon as I see that come in, first thing I do is move the units. The second thing I do, that Mac Blast powers up quite quickly. So it is nice. Make sure you're taking out these engineers because you can see even the short time that they were there, they were able to fly in and pretty much completely heal the conduit. So just make sure you kind of focus on them. Again, you'll get the spirits that'll drop in every once in a while. You will definitely get some enemy reinforcement right here. And then you'll get a little bit of stuff from the left and right. Those 2 mini bases are one's to the right, one's to the left. Again, if you are out after the optional and bonus objectives, you can go hit those. But if you're like me and that's just trying to knock this out, and I was able to do those on an easier difficulty, just take out this conduit right here. Once you do, you get a little cutscene, which we cut out right there, and then just bring everybody back. At this point, this is honestly one of the other tougher portions of this mission. These Sentinels come in; these things have a ton of health, And even with all of these anti-air turrets kind of spamming at them, they're able to knock out the turret and do some decent damage to some of the buildings. The biggest point I'm going to make here, crank out more Wolverines. At this point, that's really all you're going to need. I'll keep a small force back at the base while I kind of move to the last objective here. But just crank out Wolverines at this point. I'll end up leaving a few, I think 2 or 3, plus maybe 1 or 2 Marines back at the base, minus what I end up having to call back in for dealing with the rest of the enemies that we end up fighting as we move forward. If you do lose a turret, make sure again you're building it back, and they're going to do a very good job at taking out turrets. You'll have to build a few at this point, but again, at this point you have so much supplies and resources that's not a problem. I don't think you'll ever need, honestly, to destroy what you have as far as your base is concerned, minus taking out the armory once you get that upgrade going. You know, you could maybe take out a generator to drop in another garage if you really wanted to for more and faster Wolverine production, but I don't think that's necessary, to be honest. I think we make some pretty good time on this mission, just having a standard build here. And again, I'm just kind of monitoring, make sure everything's anti-air, because they will sweep in quite a few times, and you really don't have the luxury of moving this army back to go assist them. So again, whatever you end up losing here, you can actually just recreate back into base to help you defend. The first initial fight there, again, if you have a pretty nice sized army, not too bad to move forward and take them out. I think you have to do this 3, maybe 4 times where they'll send these things in. Again, having an abundance of Wolverines at this point, honestly, I probably could have left all the Cyclops back, but they really would not have done anything because you're just going to get hit by the Sentinels here. And again, I got a Wolverine, I think 2 groups of Marines sitting there, and they do a decent job of defending. You got to kind of micromanage these fights right here because these Protector Sentinels, they move around quite a bit, and for whatever reason, I couldn't get that one in there. He moved too far back, so my units were kind of out of range, and they won't really self-suicide into that swarm. So again, just manage your army, keep things building. Keep your core group. I think this is the last one of these that we end up having to fight, and then we make the final push for this mission. Again, they're bringing a lot of them in here. They even bring some Aggressor Sentinels in. I'm not sure if this Archer Missile ends up being effective. I do know it does. I think it does some damage here. And again, I have a little problem keying it in. I think we do get some hits off of this. Yeah, we do a little bit of damage. But again, the Aggressors, the Protectors, they're strong. They got a lot of health, especially on Legendary difficulty. They can make things pretty tough. You'll see I end up making a set of Marines and 4 more Wolverines just for the fight. Now the nice thing is once you get to here, just move your units forward, just keep them just barely outside of the Sentinel swarm, and then you're just going to have to make 1 more MAC EMP blast. Once you do that, we should finish this mission up with a decent score, I think. And again, not too difficult, just make sure you have a good spread. End up getting gold, so I'm pretty happy with that. Combat bonus, pretty good. Our time bonus here, we finished about 6 minutes, just over 6 minutes under the par time, which really helps us for the score. So I would honestly say you have the time up front. Again, make your large army, get full population cap, get your upgrades in, make sure your garage and your infantry units are both leveled up, get your turrets set, all anti-air. And you should be pretty much set, and then just move that group through from one continent to another. And again, your difficult portions are going to be your base, the banished base to destroy, and after that, not too difficult. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully this walkthrough was helpful. Again, we're going to continue to work through the rest of the campaign, so you should see some of the other missions coming up here shortly. And yeah, I've been Doc with Average Gamer, guys. Thank you guys so much for checking this out. Hopefully it was helpful. Make sure to subscribe. And we will check you next time.